let's jump right to our grand finals for today. As we said, Annie versus Kaiser. Any player, aka Sold Out, has already claimed victory over one Kaiser already. Is he poised to do it again? Or is Closing Time have Annie's number in the grand finals? It looks like Kaiser's going to be on the play starting off game number 1 of our finals.
Wow, very, very aggressive start. You love to see it. Being able to immediately drop the sneaky deckhand onto the Warrens, which then gets you the cycle. Like, it's so fast. This deck is so scary.
Yeah, it gets under so many decks, and Kaiser's usually the aggressor, but in this situation, Annie tends to lean that way, of course. Now, throwing it back over to Kaiser, has the Sentry already on board, so most likely thinking about going into Void Gate, but plays Hex Ray. It kind of was off to the side. I wonder why he's playing it off to the side instead of just playing it right here so we can see, but instead, it still gets the job done. Sneaky Deckhand goes down. And it looks like he will go for the Void Gate. Doesn't want to discard draw just yet. Probably likes what he has in hand.
Yeah, and Annie getting some value here out of that stacked deck. And again, one of the really nice things with Annie that does kind of lean into that very aggressive, very fast play style is how you get these free runes every single turn. So here you can use that stack deck essentially for free, right? Like you use the Gust, use the stack deck for free, and really try and take advantage of this of these first few turns, and sneak under the high mana costs. Oh, there we go, another one.
Another one indeed. So Sneaky Deckhand has probably been low-key the MVP for Annie. If you have to count which unit from Annie's deck has earned the most points for Annie, it has to be that Sneaky Deckhand. We saw 3 in just game 3 of our last semifinals, 2 right here in game number 1. Plays out the Pora for a follow-up on the next turn, but throwing it back over to Kaiser. I mean, luckily Sneaky Deckhand just has 2, so it's almost just a hyper-aggressive playline. Has no kind of defensive pressure whatsoever, so Kaiser doesn't have to worry about that. Thinking about probably conquering both battlefields if she can. Perhaps a Kaiser, perhaps a Darius, but Yordle's only at 2, so okay, I think that is the optimal playline. 1 to the Void Gate, maybe the other cards we mentioned to the other one.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't hate something like a Falling Star here either, assuming that Kai'Sa is playing through. Generally they are, but just getting Annie down to nothing, as Annie hasn't seen really many of the cards that are actually giving advantage, like the Kai'Sa Survivor, the cards that are actually going to generate more cards. Because right now we have Annie stuck at 2 cards in hand, and admittedly some good board presence, which is good. But we've seen that once you get behind, it can be a bit hard to come back.
Oh yeah. As we said before, these legends here are so poised and so primed to always conquer battlefields, but they really so lackluster when it comes to defending these battlefields. So a lot of pushing, not a lot of defending is what we're most likely going to be seeing from both of these legends. That being said, Yordle does get that point for Kai'Sa, trying to hold Void Gate, but 2 might isn't too much, so I'm willing to bet something's going to be coming out from Annie's corner, perhaps a Kaiser or Darius of her own. But these guys, it's still early, but not too much card advantage. It looks like every card they've deployed so far hasn't been able to cantrip and recur a card back to their hand. So at least they're kind of even in terms of card advantage so far.
Yeah, kind of interesting few opening turns from the Kai'Sa. You'll notice that they actually did exhaust all their runes, which is something you don't see Kai'Sa do very often. Just throwing a ton of units on the board. It makes me think that maybe not much in the way of removal in the hand. Maybe deciding just to get down these sentries, try and generate some cards, and that does provide an opportunity for the Annie though. And the Annie Stubborn does come down. I missed what was added back. Did you catch?
Yeah, he shortcutted it, so I don't blame you for missing it. He grabbed the cleave, but left it in the discard and just pinged the Poro. So he didn't actually put it back in hand. He kind of just shortcutted. That's why the Poro was able to conquer Void's Gate. So yeah, a little bit confusing for the folks at home. I could totally see that.
Yeah, it is definitely a different game when you are sitting across from your opponent and you can or in a Discord call with your opponent, and you can say, I'm doing this, and then skip
Right.
5 steps.
Absolutely. But let's see Kaiser's turn now. As you said, Kaiser prioritizing the development of her board state so far. Sentries not too impactful, of course. They do get you those card draws back for those trades, but having to do 2 for 1, but you do net 2 cards, not the worst. So I could see a world, unless you have something like a Stupefy so that you just have to trade one of your sentries, wouldn't be too bad if she does have it.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate just throwing both sentries at the Poro here. At the worst, you're getting a spell out of the Anniei hand, and at the best, like, you're trading both your sentries, and you get 2 out of it. You clear the battlefield, and Anniei gets nothing out of it, right? So
Right.
I would not hate throwing both of the sentries at it, but I guess we will see. You definitely could also throw a sentry at the Warrens, and that does get you the cycle, and then gets you a draw later when the Anniei does come back to take it. Guess it really depends on what ClosingThyme has in the hand, because we are seeing eight runes standing. Okay.
Yeah, keeps
Okay.
it rather straightforward. Goes for the hopeful instead, but it looks like he played off something to the side. It might be a Falling Stars because of the Kaiser ability. Recycle 1 Fury Rune. I think it is. They're choosing targets, so pick your poison. All these units are under 3, so there is that Falling Stars. It does get discarded, so the targets were Traveling Merchant and the Anniei. Man, I mean, Kaiser able to make full use of those Falling Stars time and time again. That's what makes Kaiser pretty much one of the strongest, if not the strongest legend in the entirety of Riftbound, at least for set 1 so far.
Yeah, so many of these Kai'Sa matchups really feel defined by how much value is Falling Star going to give you. And against these decks that go fast and wide, it kind of is her best bet, right? For cleaning up the board and trying to stabilize to the point where she can drop her Watcher, she can drop her Darius, and then take over the board. And I mean, definitely here, getting 2 cards for 1, I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good indeed. Feels good if you're the Kaiser player. Speaking of Kaiser, we'll be using your champion onto the board. Doesn't get accelerated since you're already in control of both of those battlefields, so a little bit of unnecessary additional cost. Throwing it back over. Only a sneaky deckhand, but speaking of the devil card, Falling Stars for her own, taking 2 units down because of the bonus damage, triggering 4 damage onto each of those units. That is Value Town indeed.
Yeah, a lot of value, and now we're seeing the Darius come down. Again, one of the most powerful Fury cards is this Darius. Really lets you... It just lets you throw might onto the board, really, because you're paying 5, you're playing 1 power, and you get a 7 might unit. That's just so crazy to me.
Oh yeah, Darius probably the best Fury card. I mean, with the exception being, of course, that Falling Stars we keep talking about, but is probably right up in there. For a unit, might be the best for a unit, but one of the best, if not the best mine unit, will be that Thousand Tail Watcher coming onto the board, rattling both of these units down 3 total might, so 1 and 2 respectively. Now able to push with a 7, push with a 4 wherever she wants. It looks like she doesn't have too much to worry about with Annie's lonely single card in hand. Is it perhaps a flight, Anniei? What are you thinking?
Yeah, that's not good. It does signify that the Darius is never going to get its triggered ability, right? Because you cannot play 2 cards when you have 1 card in hand, unless it's like a stacked deck. That could happen.
Right.
But this is looking pretty rough here for the Anniei. I believe Anniei is on 5 points. You want to correct me?
6.
Okay, so that does mean that time has to clear the battlefields, or at least clear 1 battlefield this turn, which should be pretty easy with the sneaky deckhand being at 1 might. And I mean, there's a whole ass Watcher. Oh, pardon my language. There's a whole Watcher on the field, so.
That's right, and it looks like the 1 card in hand was a good one for sure. It was a Void Seeker. Not only are you going to clear the Kai'Sa, unless, yeah, okay, the retreat could kind of change things up. You still kind of don't get the Conqueror, but at least you get your Kai'Sa back, but you can't accelerate it this turn, but at least you have it for the follow-up turn. So goes the Watcher as plan B into Zone Warrens. takes it out, so does conquer up to 4 herself. You do have to discard and draw, so let's take a look what Kaiser decides to discard.
Yeah, this is, I mean, it is doable for Annie. You'll have 2 cards going into the turn. If you have like a Darius plus like a damage spell, that would do it. Well, not now. Not now, unfortunately, now that the sneaky deckhand was cleared, but 6 points.
Yeah,
just
6.
pass.
Yeah, just pass. It looks like the 2 cards weren't any units they want to deploy, so most likely things like combat tricks or just simple spells. So having to forcefully pass. This is the window of opportunity Kaiser needed. Annie was full gas, pedal to the metal. Now she has slowed down and given the breathing room to Kaiser. So Kaiser trying to capitalize on this wiggle room, but that's what she had. She had those spells. So Void Seeker number 2, not letting her gain any additional points. So staying at 5 for the time being. Does she have maybe... There it is. I was just about to say something like a Darius to try to come back, because that is going to be the second card play for her turn.
Yeah, it's pretty hard here for Sold to crack both a Darius and the Watcher. The Annie deck doesn't play like a lot of bombs. I would say the biggest bomb is a Darius, or maybe if you can get the Vi plus the Ride the Wind combo that you've mentioned before. 3 cards in hand. It is possible. I can't quite see how many cards are in the trash, but I'm sure it's more than enough. But nope.
That's going to be Annie scooping things up. We sold out. He likes to see if there is a potential out, any kind of play, but he's a quick thinker, can think a couple turns ahead, and he did not see of an out to get rid of both of these cards.
Yeah, my personal favorite, which I'm sure I've made very clear, is I think Darius is the best deck, and you will probably see me with that at Houston. So
there we go. I'll meet you there. I'm tempted to bring Darius as well, guys. I don't know if I mentioned it's also my favorite, but if I'm going out to Houston spending all that money and stuff, I kind of want to try my very best. So who knows? I would hate to run Kaiser, but to be as competitive as possible, we'll see. But what about that Metal Darius card you could possibly win? That's probably better than first place, no?
Yeah, I've seen some of the pictures of the Chinese prize cards and such, and they look so nice. So I would be very psyched to be able to grab one of those in English.
Yeah, and it's gonna be so cool. The first, or not the first, but the highest placing legend out of every legend in the tournament, or out of every legend in set 1, and including the Proving Ground legends, whoever places the highest within that regional tournament is going to get a 1 of 1. I say 1 of 1, but future tournaments are going to have them. They're going to get an exclusive metal legend card. Literally, it's metal with, I think, like engraved grooves. If you guys haven't seen it, they're beautiful. So I know those are going to be low-key probably the bigger prize cards, if I do say so.
So, okay, I have a question for you as our early turns are happening here. If you had to pick the legend that you think would be most likely to get a metal card out, which one do you think it would be?
Obvious answer would be something like Garen, because no one would try. Well, maybe it's so obvious that is the whole poker mentality. Like, I'm gonna bring Garen. Oh, I'm gonna bring Garen. But if I had to be honest with that answer, or honest with the answer, I think Lux. Lux is a very underrated legend. A lot of people sleep on her, but she's actually quite powerful, can take a couple gains on some of the meta legends, and I highly doubt people are coming into Houston playing Lux. So I think that probably has the highest potential of winning a metal card.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, actually, because Garen is just so unfortunately bad that you're gonna have a hard time actually winning without some luck.
Yeah.
So like, it feels like it's gonna be more luck who gets the metal card with Garen than anything, whereas Lux actually has some cool tools, right? Like, and people don't know what her cards do either. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, we just saw, I posted it just recently on X. There was a top 8 that topped in one of the city challenges literally this past weekend. So I posted the list on there as well. So yeah, I think Lux definitely underrated. But let's see if we get a teeny bit back into the game. Annie trying to conquer both battlefields in the same turn, and that she does, up to 3. These guys are playing rather quick.
Oh yeah, we are deep in this game already, but there's a big board from both players. Again, another very unit-heavy start from Kai'Sa with the Noxus Hopeful, a Portal, and the Raven's Bloom.
Yeah, good board development for sure. We'll see it paid off in game 1. Will it pay off in game 2, even though she was on the draw? So Annie going into the Dreaming Tree. And Anniei, I didn't see what Annie got back from the drop this time. Did you? Was it this stack that he's playing out?
Yeah, so very aggressively using the Stubborn Annie here. I'm curious what makes this game a bit different than the other ones, because it feels like the Annie is more of a later, at least of the Annies I've watched. The Annie is used later in the game to kind of find the perfect answer after you've built up a bit of a trash. But maybe there's just no more units to play. Maybe Soul just needed to find a unit, so they're like, all right, throw this Annie out, get a stacked deck, maybe find an answer.
I think so. I think that's exactly the mindset Annie was in, saying, I don't have too many units. I'm full of spells in my hand. Let's play it out, get a stacked deck, try to filter through more cards, put some at the bottom, draw one. But Watcher getting played out without the accelerated ability. Usually you see it maximizing his impact on the board with the accelerate, but just using it for the simple fact, and I say simple, but it's a very strong ability, down 3 to a minimum of 1 on each unit on Annie's board, making it so feasible for most of its units, most of Kai'Sa's units, to really take it down. As simple as a 2 my Poro, taking a 2 for 1, you love to see it if you're the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, this is quite rough for Sold. I think the Thousand Tail Watcher might just be one of the best high-end drops in the game outside of some of the volley cards, with the only exception being that it is like probably the worst. Is there even a body mind? There's not a body mind here, so you can't even hit this off of Aurora, but it is probably, in my opinion, the best like big drop that a good deck can play. I'm sorry, Volley, but
yeah, no, I agree with you. It's such a powerful card, makes a difference in the game each and every time it's deployed. And yeah, and it made a difference here. It made it so much easier to get 2 points on the board. Going in on the offense now, as Annie tends to do best. So sending in, trying to bluff slightly. I say bluff, but there's been plenty of cleaves played out from both of these players. So does get the 4 points and does conquer, and now goes up with the Annie up to 5. So things are moving and grooving, itching this way closer to try to get game 2. And I'm wondering, are we gonna have a game 3 in our grand finals? I know if you're sold out, he's definitely trying his hardest to make sure that goes down. And for now, I think he's hoping there's not a secondary Watcher on Kai'Sa's hand. We will see though.
Yeah, I really like this position for Annie, because this is very similar to the last game in that the Annie's up on points has a little bit more board presence, except this time you have 6 cards in hand instead of 2.
Yeah,
so you do have those answers.
You're so right to that point. It's now Annie with the card advantage, and I think that goes to show how powerful Dreaming Tree as a battlefield is. We saw him draw from the Flash. We saw him draw from, I believe there was another draw. I can't ring a bell though, but either way, I think that's what's making a difference, at least for this game too. And I was afraid of that for the Annie. It is another Watcher coming down for Kai'Sa. I don't think Annie's board is sticking around, but there's so many runes available, so perhaps she does have something up her sleeve.
Yeah, there aren't a ton of answers here for the 7 Might Watcher. There's like Flash, maybe the Savior units, which I do like Flash a lot into these 1000 Watcher drop, as you get the Savior units and then you can just kind of attack right back on the pushback. And then there's like the Void Seekers, but I mean 7 Might is a lot. You have to do a lot to reach that number.
Yeah, you definitely do. And just keeping it straightforward, sending the Hopeful over, but does get a Void Seeker to the face, so that's going to be going down. Does she have another Void Seeker, and will that be enough? Because a Void Seeker would bring that Watcher down to 4 HP pretty much, and there's 3 damage of might on the Dreaming Tree, so it would trade 1 for 1. But maybe that's what you want, because that would leave you with a Watcher to conquer on Reaver's Row if you want it, and then Ravenbloom could conquer on Dreaming Tree, or vice versa. Whichever way, you're ending up getting 2 points. So let's see if there is a follow-up Void Seeker for Annie.
Okay, fight or flight. Bit interesting. Okay. I guess I'm not really quite sure. What are your thoughts on why you would fight or flight the second one or the first one when there are 2?
Yeah, I think she was just thinking about either way. I mean, you're so right, because one of these was going to conquer regardless. So perhaps could have saved that flight or fight until it made a bit more impact, because you're not drawing for it. So it is kind of an interesting decision to do that, huh? I'm not too sure if I'm being honest.
You could have, like, one option there would be the fight or flight. If you really wanted to play the fight or flight, well, you still held the battlefield. You could fight or flight your own unit back to the base to at least get the draw off the Dreaming Tree. But there, like, you still have a 1,000-tail Watcher in the base, and you still have a 1,000-tail Watcher on the battlefield, and all your units still died. So, I'm not quite sure, but the Vi does come down. I mean, do we have the Ride the Wind?
Yeah, she is at 6 now, so perhaps that is the game plan. But wait, did she I was looking away for just 1 second. Did she pass it over to Kaiser? No, Kaiser's still exhausted, so it's still Kaiser's turn. Never passes. So Watcher she did end up passing, but it is Kaiser's turn, so goes up to 6 herself, and now tying things up. But the battlefield presence is favoring Kaiser. I say that with the one big major caveat being, is there a Ride the Wind in hand for Annie? How many cards in the discard? 14. Plenty of cards to work with for that infamous ganking, or apologies, the infamous buy ability. Recycle 1, gain 1 might, so a total of, what is that, 14 plus 3, 17 total might. It looks like my tabletop froze a little bit, but there we go, we're back.
So Kaisa establishing in both battlefields 7 might. While it looks like a lot, like you said, if that Ride the Wind is in the Annie hand, I mean, the Vi clears it pretty easily, and there isn't a ton that Kaisa can have to answer that play. Like, you have to drop a lot of combat trip, which you are definitely not with only 3 runes up.
And make that only 1 rune up after playing the Ravenbloom, so you have just a simple Stupefy. And I love how SouledOut just doesn't even play it out. He says, you know what, look at my hand, I do have it. 14, bring it up to 17, Ride the Wind, bring it in, bring it out, ganking to the Dreaming Tree, and that will be it. Annie getting that game 2, so we kind of manifested it here. We find ourselves in a game 3.
Understanding when your opponent is going to play a certain battlefield, well, that could be a pretty big advantage.
Yeah, speaking of battlefields, they did a little switcheroo. I saw the Void Gate, so I put it up on the stream, but it was indeed, I think Void Gate was game 1, so it was a Targon's Peak, benefiting both legends. And as well, you said Arena's great as it doesn't really have an ability, just gonna getting that +1 to start things off. So I think this is nice and even playing ground for both of these legends. It kind of ends up being who can sequence their cards, who can outplay each other in these grand finals. So we have a game on. We might or may not have a great game on hand. I'm hoping we do. So let's go ahead and see. It's already got things started with our final game of the day, game 3 of our grand finals. I can't believe we're finally here.
Yeah, I'm sure it's been a very long day for you. I've been excited. It's been a lot of fun to watch. Seen a lot of really great Riftbound. Seen some really cool stuff too. Like I said, I'd not seen a lot of Annie before today, so I have learned a lot.
Yeah, that is an understatement. I think for anyone that was underestimating Annie, I think SouledOut, if you haven't kept up with the community too much, because he definitely has put Annie on the map in a lot of different tournaments in the past. But for those that haven't been fortunate to check out those other events, Annie looks like she's here to play. She's not messing around. But of course, we don't want to speak too soon. She did make it to the grand finals. That's a little bit different than being crowned our first ever Cash Cup champion. Will it be Annie? Will it be Kaiser? We're going to find out in this very last game, like we said. And it looks like just pretty standard openings so far.
Yeah, the Sargon's Peak is pretty interesting with Annie, right? Because when Annie conquers there, you get 4 runes back.
Right.
That's an insane amount.
Yeah, indeed. There's so much you can do with that. Usually with just 2, you're locked into just flight or flights. But with 4, I mean, that's 2. That's 1 ride the wind, 1 flight or flight. I mean, at least a Void Seeker. So much ability to get off, but keeps it simple. Goes with the Raven Bloom, going up to 2 herself. So this might be a very expedited game 3 with this Arena's Greatest.
Ooh. Okay, that's the first time we've seen a Vayne. That's interesting. Okay. I believe it's probably a sided card. So choosing to side the Vayne, I wonder what matchup is that for. Do you have any insight?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, it helps with the aggressive game plan, right? When an opponent is holding down a battlefield, you enter ready and you have Assault 3, so a 4 for 5 might. You could never go wrong with that. And to make it even more impactful, once you conquered, you could play 1. We could pay 1 energy to bring it back in hand, so you're able to do it all over again. So I think it just kind of helps with the aggressive nature we've seen from Annie time and time again. So yeah, I'm wondering specifically matchup wise, maybe a Kaiser matchup where you're oftentimes just looking to conquer rather than defend.
Ooh, Void Seer coming down. It's pretty value one if this does go through. See if there's a retreat maybe. Because it is quite nice. Smack that champion unit right out of there.
Yeah, smack her right out of the battlefield. That's what Annie has in mind. But I mean, as you said, does he have a retreat? Because it wouldn't be too bad, and it looks like he's taking a page from what you said. A retreat does get played out, bringing the accelerated Kaiser back in hand. Does she want to play it out again? No, decides to deploy a Sprite Mother instead. 3-2. That's the one thing with assault units, right? It's so good on offense, not so good when you're defending. So just 2 Lonely Might.
Yeah, when you don't get to pay the extra cost to bounce back the Vayne, she kind of is just a sitting duck, right? 2 might, anything can kill that. Even the Poro.
Yeah, the little Sprite unit taking it down. But Sneaky Deckhand trying to get things rolling, going up to 4 for Annie. Let's see what she follows that up, because she can also accelerate a Kaiser of her own. Has to be a little bit careful because there's 1 single energy up for Kaiser. So that could be a Hex Tech Ray, that could be a Stupefy, bringing that 4 might down to 3, causing an even trade, but trade highly favoring Kaiser's direction because that's a temporary unit. It was dying either way, but ooh, the card Kaiser loves to play. Annie, as you said, maybe only 1, maybe perhaps 2 now that she sighted another one in.
Wow, I mean, it does clear the board, but using a Falling Star on a temporary unit cannot feel too insane. I guess if you are playing for this tempo, when you playing the Sneaky Deckhand hand down, just trying to get yourself to the 6-7 point range as fast as possible, so then you can play your ride the win combo and just win the game on the spot.
Yeah, we'll see if she has that. The 2 of 3 cards left in her hand right now. Annie in control of the battlefields, but plenty of cards to work with for Kaiser. Let's see if she has things like the Darius. We know for a fact she does have the other Kaiser Survivor unit in hands. Can accelerate it. It does have 4 might versus a 2. And out of those 3 cards, I guess it could be a fight or flight to try to hold 1 point. That'll bring you up to 6. Not too good in that even point because you go from 6, still needing 2 more points, and you're just holding, or you could only gain 1 point that turn. So it's kind of a weird situation for Annie, but here it goes. Survivor comes down. Does she choose to accelerate? And it looks like the answer is yes.
This is playing it to the peak. Yeah, that makes sense. Will Soul choose to interact with this though? Okay, you called it.
It was pretty much the only available option, but Void Seekers instead doesn't want Annie getting any additional points, because in this situation, that's going to be bringing her all the way up to 7 points, and that is not a position you want to be against Annie, as you said. Or is that going to be a Vi in hand? Is that going to be a Ride Your Win? I mean, you're just going to have 5 runes, so you're barely cutting it if you have it, but it should be enough. But that's 7 points for Annie. It is awfully close, almost what feels like a checkmate situation for Annie. Retreating her units for now.
Do you see what happened with the Void Seeker? Was there just not enough runes? I see that it did get picked up and put back in the hand, but I did miss why.
You know, I think he took it back and just decided to play out the hopeful, because he put the runes back and just played out the hopeful. So a little bit takey backsy, I guess, happened there.
The Annie Stubborn is dropped. Maybe deciding what to grab back.
Perhaps did decide, because maybe we missed it because I was looking away for a second, because he already passed it back, but I guess that was probably the card he got back, the Void Seeker.
So needs a Darius here, or a Watcher, or we are.
Wait, what just happened?
What
a Kathy and Rain. He
Oh.
plays his spells off to the side, so it's so hard to see.
Oof, that's a brutal one. Oh, man. Well, that doesn't win the game. Oh, okay. Here comes down to Poro. Still.
You know, you have a
yeah.
point. I think it's going to be a little tough to get that final game point. You're either going to have to lock down a battlefield, but with just 3 cards in hand and a simple Poro in the base, it doesn't seem like you have the tools to do that just yet. So you're probably leaning towards the case where you have to conquer both battlefields. A whole lot easier said than done when you're facing off a Kai'Sa with plenty of cards in hand, most likely plenty of combat tricks as well. So is this the turning point? Kai'Sa wasn't too far behind. She's at 5 total points. I think I counted the hold point for the hopeful. I think so. I think she is just at 5. Let me count it.
Believe so. This is a little bit rough here for Annie. You can attempt to go for a hold, which I don't hate, especially with the Pouty Poro does have deflect. Probably won't do too much at this point with Annie, with Kai'Sa up to 9 runes. And yep, here comes down to Void Seeker. Says, I don't care if I have to get rid of an extra rune. It does not matter at this point in the game.
It is not, just trying to not let her get any additional points. 1 hold is all Annie needs. So that was a necessary evil, having to play out the Void Seeker on the Pouty deflected Poro. But you at least get 1 draw for the trouble. So looking like throwing. Oh, no. Okay, it is back at Annie. Oh, no, it was Annie's turn, and Poro was trying to push. I've seen way too much Riftbound today, but Kai'Sa does come through with Accelerate, at least trying to draw 2. This is exactly what Annie needs. She needs more card advantage. She needs to see that Vi Ride the Win combo, but I'm wondering, is it a little bit too late? Because Kai'Sa goes up to 6 now. Oh, no, there's at least 1 more turn for Annie.
Yeah. So this will be, I believe, is Annie at 7 here? It is or 6.
7.
So if the Kai'Sa can hold, this will be the match. It might be a bit hard. Annie does have 3 runes to work with, so can expect Void Seeker maybe. You could expect a. I mean, there's not really too much in the way of defensive. There's like a Fight or Flight. Okay, there's a falling star off the screen again.
That would do it. Fallen Star a bit of an overkill because it was already just 3 might from the Stupefy, but gets gusted back to hand. That sentry goes. Fortunately for Kai'Sa, she's able to play it out 1 more time. Plenty of runes to work with, unless she had something like a Darius in mind, because Fallen Star was... Oh, the Void Seeker number 2, so no holding for Kai'Sa next turn.
Yeah, and this does set a position where a Vi plus a Ride the Wind is the game.
I couldn't agree more, and she's seen through so many cards. 2 Void Seekers drew her 2. She's gonna draw 1 more. I have a feeling, Anniei, I think he has it in hand. What do you think? I just have a gut feeling. I feel like he does.
Actually, so it wouldn't be game, correct? Because you do have to get a point score on both battlefields.
Well,
so
Ride the Wind readies it, and it has ganking.
You are right. You are right. Thank you. Thank you. So, oh my, and Kai'Sa is kind of tapping out here.
Yeah, it's either do you have it, it doesn't. It's gonna be Kai'Sa, but wait. Yeah, that was a bit confusing. Recycle to Chaos, meant to recycle Fury down to the bottom, but does get accelerated. So it looks like Annie can't win. Wait, this is probably the little bit of breathing room Kai'Sa needed, because you're gonna draw 2. You have 4 total runes if you don't play anything. Make that 3 total runes. If there's a Thousand Tail Watcher, I think Kai'Sa might have been able to lock things out. Let's see though. Stupefy to draw 1, get 1 down for this. There's no kind of... Actually, there is 1 rune for a potential Ray.
Yeah, there are a lot of good cards here that Kai'Sa can draw, like a Singularity, a Void Sea. Anything that removes that Kai'Sa from the board will win the game, so... A lot of options.
All right, we're going to find out right here, right now, what those options were. Annie passing it back. Kai'Sa, as we said before, is at 6 total points. Needing to conquer both. Has 2 units available. At, like we said, a Watcher could... Oh, and 2 from the Targon. So a total of 5 runes at her disposal. Plenty of cards. 2, 4, 6 total cards for Annie available to try to not let these conquers go through. We saw 1 Flight or Flight, maybe a couple more gusts in hand for these lower might units. So tries to see what else she can draw. Starts with the Yordle, so not a bad idea, just to see all the information before committing.
Yeah, when you have 11 runes, you got a lot to work with, and you absolutely do not need 11 runes to kill a Kai'Sa. So, but choosing to go for the Arena's Greatest. Is this a... I mean... Oh, wow, okay. And he's saying no. Okay.
Yeah,
I
like that decision, pushing with a Deflected Portal first, forcing that action to cost her 2 recycle runes, and it ends up being pretty much the same because Yordle comes in, goes to 7. Is there a Darius? It's a Singularity. We do not see that from Kai'Sa too often.
Yeah, so that pretty much means Annie cannot win unless, again, we have the Vi Ride the Wind combo, while also setting up time to win on the pass back. So,
yeah,
will we see Vi Ride the Wind?
I'm thinking that's pretty much sold out. These game ended up coming so neck and neck. These guys want to win, and there is no Ride the Wind combo. There's no accelerated cards. There was a Ride the Wind about a couple 3 cards deep and sold out. Unfortunately, can't make the Annie Dream alive. If you guys are Kai'Sa fans, it looks like you guys will be victorious today. Congratulations. ClosingThyme will be our champion for our first ever Cash Cup. Well done. Clap it up. GG.